When you're creating website designs, it's really important to be working with a grid. A grid is defined as a network of uniformly spaced horizontal and perpendicular lines. It forms the basis for structure on which a designer can organize graphic elements, things like images, glyphs, paragraphs, etc. We'll want to set these up in a rational and easy-to-absorb manner. A grid can help us to do this. A grid can be used to organize graphic elements in relation to a page, in relation to other graphic elements on the page, or relation to other parts of the same graphic element or shape. If you want to create something that has balance in terms of the way that visual elements complement one another through their positioning, grids are the way to go. They offer you guidance on how to relate one object to another, and most importantly, how to structure elements on the artboard. Beyond that, the grid helps designers create pixel-perfect artwork for digital devices, and in my opinion, this is a must. I'm starting with a new document that has two artboards. What we're going to do is we're going to make some grids based on these two designs. I'll begin by making a rectangle that's the same size as my artboard. Now, because I'm going to want my grid to have a little bit of spacing on the right and the left, I'm going to transform the size of the rectangle so that it's just slightly smaller than the actual size of my artboard. I'll use the transform palette to do this. And I'm simply going to transform the width of my rectangle so that it's 30 pixels narrower than the width of the artboard. That'll make this 1336. The reason I'm picking that number is I want to have 15 pixels of space on the right and the left. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to ensure that the element is aligned to the grid. You can use your Align panel to do this. I'll open up my Align panel, and I'm going to want to expand the Align panel by using the Wing menu right here and choosing Show Options. I'm going to come down to the lower right-hand corner and I'm going to choose Align to Artboard. Let me make sure that my artboard is selected, and then I'm going to choose to horizontally align center. This will ensure that the object is centered based on the artboard. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Object pull-down menu, and I'm going to come down here to Path, and we're going to use Split into Grid. In the Split into Grid dialog box, you can choose to split the object into a specified number of rows or columns. If you have the Preview checkbox on, as you increase the number of columns, you'll get a visual as to what this is going to look like. So for my large screen layout, I'm going to split the page into 4 columns. I also want to have some spacing in between the columns. That's going to be the gutter spacing. So we're going to use gutter spacing of 15 pixels. And when I do that, it's going to equally divide and then add the spacing in between the columns. Once you're happy with this, you can go ahead and click OK. Now it is worth pointing out that you do have the option to add guides. If you choose Add Guides right now, it's going to add horizontal and vertical guides. I don't usually use those, so I'm going to keep that unchecked, and I'm going to click OK. Now what I like to do before I actually convert this shape into a grid is I like to stretch it down and maybe even up a little bit. And in this way, if I decide later on that my design needs to be taller, I'll have some additional grid length available. So I'm just going to stretch the new rectangle shape up and down a bit. And finally, I'm going to turn this 4-column shape into guides. And we do that by going to View, Guides, Make Guides. And now you can see that those shapes are turned into guides. I don't want to accidentally move the guides, so I'll also go to View, Guides, and I'll lock the guides. And now I have guides, and when I start to create new shapes on my artboard, you can see that the shapes are going to snap to the grid, and I also can be assured that whatever elements I create are now going to be aligned to my grid. You can add as many columns and as many horizontal rows as necessary. I'll quickly make another grid for my small screen layout. This one is not going to have 4 columns, it's just going to contain 1 column. It really doesn't matter if you have this object filled or not. I'll select the shape, I'll come to my transform palette, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the shape is the correct size. Again, I want a little spacing on the right and the left, so I'm going to change this to have a width of 450, which is going to give me margins of 15 pixels on the right and left sides. I'm going to go to Object, Path, Split into Grid, and for this particular object, I only want to have one column, but I am going to split this into a couple of different rows. And I like to have preview on so that I can see where this is going to add the rows. And you can add as many as you need to, and obviously you can add the gutters if you prefer. We'll add 20 pixels of gutter spacing. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to convert this into guides. With this object selected, I'll go to View, Guides, Make Guides, and I don't need to lock the guides because we already did that in the previous step. So now you can see that I have columns and rows set up, and I can use this to align the various elements that I'm going to incorporate into my web design. Grids are a great way to give your design balance and provide a tidy layout. It's awesome that you can make gutters to suit any design very easily. I find this to be extremely helpful when I work with web-based designs.